You know what happened? We're at the ranch. We bought a new splitter, people. But we're not going to show it to you yet. First we got to make some rounds, and then we're going to split them. Have fun. So it's time to use our new toy. Since I have a generator here, 3000 watt max, 2600 watt continuous, I had an old hydraulic splitter, 7-ton, and every time I wanted to split a single round, the motor started up, which was a real burden on the generator. So I decided to buy a Kinetic log splitter, since the motor is on continuously, so you only have one start up trying to kill your generator. So I asked the seller, Crossfair in Germany, I asked specifically, what's the start up amps on this Kinetic splitter? And they said it's 10 amps. And since my generator has 13 amps, I was in the safe zone, because the startup amps are always way higher than the amps that the machine works with. So I bought it. Today I want to start it up. Generator kills, it just shuts off. The startup current is way too high for the generator. So I got lucky, finally it started up, but I got screwed over again in Germany. That's kind of a habit since I live here. You buy something in Germany, you get screwed over. So Crossfair, Germany, don't go there. Buy a Chinese splitter or buy a generator that's really strong, over 300 watts, the one that I've got. In Europe they're really expensive, that's why I bought the 3000 watts. But come along, I'll show you how the thing works. I cannot talk because of the generator, but you will get the picture.
The next day.
Well, people, we're at the ranch again. I have to get out of the noise from the generator. So I'm 2 hours in working with the Kinetic splitter. What I like about it so far, let's have a peek-see. One moment. So excuse me for the noise. The generator is noisy like generators are. What I like so far about the Kinetic wood splitter, it's really fast. So I guess I can do a face chord in half an hour. So that's about 2 German shot round meters. What I don't like is the engine. It's really heavy on the generator for startups. I only have a 3000 watt generator, and you have to be careful starting it up. You have to give it a couple of goes before it starts up, because the startup amps are just too heavy for my generator. And since I sell my wood this first year that I sell firewood, so I don't have a lot of budget left. So if I sell a bit of firewood next year, maybe I can buy a bigger generator. And then the thing that here in Europe you cannot buy real United States made, US made log splitters. You can, but then they're almost twice as expensive as in America. So all you got here is Chinese stuff. It works, but don't ask me for how long. And what did I pay for this wood splitter? It was about $500 US, and that's considered really cheap. The other ones were all about $1,000 US, so that's how I like it so far. I'm gonna put the camera on a stand and film a little so you can enjoy me working while you're sitting on your couch eating a bag of potato chips. So you see me splitting the logs here, the rounds, and they're all falling down off the splitter. Those are the pieces that are almost dry. They feel almost dry. They're lighter, so I just let them drop off the table, and that's gonna be a stack of almost dry wood. So here you see me throwing the pieces that I split. They're not dropping on the pile that I made, but I'm throwing them in the firewood bin next to me. And those are the pieces that are still relatively fresh. They feel heavier, so I throw them in the bin that has the most wind passing by it and has the most sun, because the two bins on my other side, they're partially under trees and there's still a little bit of leaves on the trees, so they don't get a lot of sun yet. In winter that's better, but then the sun doesn't really have enough power. So this is my first year doing it like this in these bins. I hope they dry enough, and if not, I'm gonna have to stack it. I hope not, because the less you touch your wood, the better. So about the splitter, the starting amps, I think I already said that, are about 70 amps on the startup, up to 70 amps. I haven't measured it yet, but I've read online it can be up to 70 amps. And then I started to search, how can I find a solution to start this splitter on my relatively light generator, and I haven't found anything so far. Some say you got to use really thick cables. Well, I got a 2.5 millimeter square, no, yeah, a 2.5 millimeter square cable on it now, so that's relatively thick. But there is no real difference in starting up the machine. So then I read something about a soft starter, putting a soft starter in between. So if any of you have any experience with that, or you got other tips for me how to start up this machine easier, that's the word I was looking for, then that would be a great help, because every time I have to split some rounds, I'm kind of scared starting up the machine, maybe burning my generator. And it's also a hassle when you want to have a little break in between, when you split rounds and you want to sit down for 5 minutes. You have to leave the generator on, because if you turn everything off, you have to start it up again. And will it start or will it not start? So this machine had a really small table. It wasn't even a table. It was a platform of maybe 12 by 12 inches, and it was too small. And because we're in Europe, they have this perverted idea about safety. So every splitter comes with a cage around it, so you can hardly get to your rounds. You have to load your rounds. It's almost like you have to fill up a chamber of a gun. You can hardly get to it. So I used that cage, which is, of course, we're in Europe, really thin sheet metal, and I used that to weld it to the little table. And now I have a little, it's a little bigger, but it's hardly, it's real thin sheet metal, so it bends when you put heavier rounds on it, like it is in Europe. Then another security feature on the machine that is, well, it's not actually that it's, how do you call it? It's not by law that you have to put that safety feature on it in Europe. You only have to do that in Germany. Germany has the most unlogical laws in Europe, and when it comes to safety, they really go at it. So there's a lever on this machine, and you have to pull the lever in order to make the ram come out of the machine. So with one hand you have to pull the security lever, with the other hand you have to pull the lever to make the ram come out. So I bypassed the security lever, I put a screw in it, and that was it. Because I'm not the kind of guy who says, well, in Germany you have to do that, so let's just be a good citizen. If you have your head on straight, you know you have to be careful when you use a splitter. So that's what I did. I had my head screwed on the right way. So much about this splitter. If you have any questions, write them in the comments. If you like the video, just push all the buttons, and yeah, maybe we'll do a follow-up on this splitter in the future, after a couple of months or after a year, or maybe we'll do a product review on it. Maybe you'll like those kind of things. For now, I'm gonna split some more. I'm not gonna bore you with it, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.